What's up? I want to talk today about podcasting. Podcasting is an attitude, not an industry. I see a lot of people on LinkedIn talking about the podcast industry this, the podcast industry that. Go look at their profiles. They are in technology and information. They are in marketing and advertising. Those are industries. Podcasting is simply an activity that you do for fun. I podcast for my hobby, this. I podcast on behalf of other people for their work. And I started turning on the camera here because I'm just going to podcast for me in my day job, like marketing. So this podcast is me marketing my services, which happen to be marketing. Even though there are podcasts about podcasts, and even though there are conventions and forums and webinars and associations and organizations about podcasting that claim there's an industry, stop for a moment and think about what that is. Podcasting, it really is just an activity. People who make money at it, if you're claiming, if the idea is that, tons of people make money podcasting, the fallacy that money equates to industry. Could be. That's a good argument, actually. But my point is that those people who make money at podcasting are not making money at podcasting. They are podcasting, but they make money from their industry, which is typically entertainment or politics, which has become entertainment, or sports or something else. They've made their money in business, sports, entertainment, etc. And podcasting is just an activity they do because it enhances what they're already doing. You feel me? Podcasting is the activity that enhances what you're doing. Sure, it could be an activity for chatting with your friends, but if that's the activity, it's chatting with your friends, podcasting enhances that. So the idea that podcasting itself is an industry, I think, is a fallacy that a lot of people that are considering getting into quote unquote podcasting really need to consider. Like, why are you podcasting? Is it for fun? Okay, well, you're promoting fun. That's not going to make money. There's no demand for promotion of fun. Fun doesn't need promoting. If you're like a lot of people find out later, they like, oh, geez, now we got to sell merch or something. Well, were you selling merch before you started a podcast? If not, now you have two businesses. You have your regular job, you have a merch business, and you're also trying to promote one of them with the podcast. That's cool, but acknowledge that you're now in the merch business. Again, no podcast industry. You're in the merchandising industry selling t-shirts. You might be selling makeup. You might be selling anything, but people with successful podcasts are selling something. Oftentimes, they're selling what they were already selling. Whether it was, sex, drugs, or rock and roll, they're still selling that, and they're using a podcast to do it. Which is cool. There's obviously nothing wrong with that. It's fascinating to me, though, as let's call one of the proletariat. I don't know if you've heard the term proldrift, and I'm going to frame it really loosely because there's a couple of different interpretations of it. But back in the day, simply put, you had the bourgeois and you had the proletariat, and the bougies controlled everything. They owned the manufacturing, they owned the processes, they owned the means of production, let's say. And the proletariat are the people with jobs. They work their jobs. They don't own anything. They just work. And there became a term called proldrift, whereas the bourgeoisie would start adopting certain, not behaviors, but styles, establishments, and places like that, activities of the proletariat to be kind of edgy. So in that way, think about when, the guys from Smartless start a podcast. They're already successful entertainers, right? Entertainers. What they're doing is now basically going to a dive club with their podcast. Of course, it makes money. They were already making money. They brought that ability to their podcast. But what they are doing in the grand scheme of things is a sense of proldrift. You have millionaires rolling out and now adopting the patterns and the attitudes and the mechanics of the proletariat. In this case, that's podcasting. So podcasting is like dive bar. Podcasting is a punk rock garage band or something like that. podcasting is the lowest tier. So when people keep saying, oh, the podcasting industry, what they're talking about is like, oh yeah, the punk rock industry or the garage band industry. They're talking over everyone's heads because at its core, podcasting really is an attitude. It's a do-it-yourself attitude that says, hey, let's get up and let's do a thing. It's easy. We just grab a mic, we turn on a camera or whatever, and boom, you're podcasting. Cool. Well, there you have it. It is cool because that's the DIY attitude. Of course, other people that make money can come and adopt the same patterns of behavior, and they're going to make money because that's what they've been doing. They bring their fame and everything else. In a way, it's cool because they bring credibility to the medium so that podcasting is adopted. More and more people have podcast players in their phones and listen to them and start to reach out and find new podcasts about other things. So that does help bring it up. But I don't think there's ever going to be a huge demand for podcasting proper in the sense of plumbing or something like that. Plumbing is an activity, but everyone needs plumbers. It's a core, component of modernity, and we need plumbers. But there's not a bunch of people saying, hey, we need more podcasting. So to that end, podcasting kind of just gets lumped in with activities like spelunking or crocheting or things like that. It's a hobby that, yes, if you are wealthy, you can pick up a hobby and make it all the rage. Cool, but that's kind of not the same. It's not the do-it-yourself kind of attitude because most celebrities, they'll go out and promote their podcasts through a broadcast. They'll go on, whatever, Today Show, Good Morning Show, whatever the shows are called nowadays, and promote their podcast. Well, we don't have that opportunity. We are true do-it-yourself podcasters doing the podcasting from that attitude. And I don't think there's anything wrong with either. Like, I don't really think there's anything wrong with what I described as Proldrift, which, by the way, goes in the other direction, too. It goes with people in poor neighborhoods flaunting fake thick gold chains, to emulate the rich. Meanwhile, the rich, the truly rich, are going to dive bars and starting podcasts because they think it's edgy. So it kind of goes either way there, and it's neither one's wrong. But what I do think is wrong is people from the advertising and, what's the other one? Technology. There's a third one too. Anyway, but mostly advertising and technology industries just claiming that there's a podcasting industry because it makes people that are trying to make cool podcasts feel like they aren't part of it. Just because you're not doing advertising and you're not using their specific platform or technology, it kind of makes you feel like, oh, I must not be in the industry. But you are. There is no industry. There is no podcasting industry. It's people like you and me and her and him just doing our thing, without rules. We don't need any stinking badges. You could do almost everything for free. And I think that is the attitude. Like, we want to hear what people who do stuff for free talk about, not millionaires slumming it. That's a huge difference, right? So if millionaires slumming it over here, pretending they're podcasting, that's cool. But I can pretty much guarantee I know what they're going to talk about. Or more importantly, what they're not going to talk about because they want to protect their $1 million careers. So, think about all this when people try to goad you or foist terms on you like podcasting industry. Sure, go to the conventions, go to the webinars, listen to the podcasts that talk about podcasting. That's all awesome, like truly awesome. That's great. I mean, it'll become an industry at some point, maybe, if the demand becomes big enough. But with radio, TV, video, YouTube, everything like that, I don't think podcasting audio through RSS feed or even a crappy little video show is going to amount to much unless you are already selling something, unless you are already successful at something else and start a podcast or any of those other avenues. But unto itself, well, I don't think it's likely. So keep a realistic viewpoint when you're thinking about starting your podcast. And remember that podcasting is an attitude, not an industry. See ya.